Welcome to Next Step Advanced Sketching Techniques. Students, today we're going to sketch a garden scene, a flower scene with some of the critters that we would expect to find on a flower. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is draw a flower. Flowers have a big circle on the inside, and petals are what emerges from the flower, and they're basically oblong stretched circles with one end. Oh goodness, I broke my graphite tip there. With one end wider as you leave the flower. Now we're kind of zoomed in on this flower, so don't be alarmed if you don't recognize what we're drawing. Okay, of course, then we're going to add some more petals in between. So we're just going to do some connecting rods. Here we go. And petals have stick and ball type features coming out, and these are little antenna, almost like transmitters that let the little friendly forest critters know that they have honey and nectar in the sweet treats that those critters love, and so they basically send out a signal on the electromagnetic spectrum, which the bug's antenna picks up. So it's basically like these antenna talking to the bug's antenna. Of course, a flower doesn't really float in the air, does it? It's so what we want here is we want to have a stem, and since we're zoomed in on the flower, the stem connecting, it's also going to be bigger. So here's our stem, and we can just add some contours here, and then maybe a leaf coming off. And a leaf has veins, so I'm just going to do a series of sideways V's here, and then a lowercase L shape going through the middle but bent sideways. All right, let's draw our first critter. First, we'll do the friendly, cozy caterpillar. I'm sure a lot of my students have read the Hungry Caterpillar book before. Very interesting. So caterpillars have very large heads, and then they have these sections, almost like if you've ever seen the cartoon Hot Dogs. I think they have 7 sections. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The brain processing area is up here near the antenna. They have eyes just like we do, and they can see all the colors like we do. They also have noses, except that their noses are built into their face, so they're not going to protrude. And then on the other side, you could just kind of do another hole to show that it's symmetrical. And then caterpillar, of course, do eat. If you've ever seen holes in leaves, so caterpillars have mouths, and there's going to be some shading. And caterpillars, of course, have teeth, like I said, to eat those leaves. Maybe this leaf has a hole in it right here from this caterpillar from the day before. Caterpillars also have tails, not furry, so they're kind of like, almost like if you shaved the cat or a cat. It's just like kind of a smooth, rough contour to them, but they do have tails. And then they're going to have tons and tons of legs. Another interesting fact about caterpillars is they have disproportionately large the females have massively sized labias, almost oppressively sized labias. A lot of people don't know that. It's one of those little facts if you want to tell your friends. And then caterpillars are going to alternate colors from one segment to the next, so it's going to be dark, light, dark, light, dark, light. All right, so this caterpillar is doing well. He's about to feast, or maybe he has feasted, and he's enjoying the sky. Now, for size perspective, how do we know this isn't a giant caterpillar on the planet Quasar? Well, we need to add the sun. The sun's going to give us perspective. And of course, we don't just draw a circle in the middle like somebody would do if they're 2 years old, right? We're going to actually draw a dimension of the sun that's appropriate, and then we're going to draw some rays, and then maybe some rays are coming across here, and then this ray's going through the hole in the leaf. So little interesting small features like that can really help get you transitioned from a rough, crude sketch to something that you might think is a photograph in one of the nice glossy magazines you see on the newsstand, or when you're getting ready to check out at your shopping market, at your local grocer. All right, so next we're going to add a butterfly here. So butterflies have 2 wings. So there's a 1 wing there. And I'm not going to draw the middle yet. You'll see why in just a minute. And then another wing. Now, I'm drawing the middle now because I wanted to make sure that the wings are symmetrical. And basically a butterfly is a caterpillar that has gone through caterpillar puberty, basically. So they're grown up, they've grown wings, and they are ready to take on the responsibility of kind of like a grown-up bug, but they still have all of the caterpillar legs. And the wings, more often than not, there are a few exceptions, but the wings tend to be translucent or clear. You can see through them. So, you know, these are the types of details that I want my students to pay attention. But wings do have some different shapes and contours. Now, caterpillars do have 2 eyes, or butterflies have 2 eyes because they're just like caterpillars, the same thing. All right, so this butterfly just rested for a minute. Now, a lot of times, if you see flowers in nature, you're going to see what are called ladybugs. So maybe we'll come down to this area and we'll draw a ladybug. Ladybug is going to be a sideways C, and then you're going to have a connecting rod, and then you're going to have 3 legs coming down. But ladybug legs are larger than, say, a caterpillar leg, so you want to make them a little bit thicker. Ladybug can be a man or a woman. They're not all ladies, even though, so you can have a man that's a ladybug, which is interesting. And ladybugs have large, wide mouths to fit a lot of teeth in, and they actually have molars similar to we do, and they're actually very aggressive, almost vicious, volatile. They have volatile tempers, ladybugs do, but they do have antennae. And then ladybugs are going to have different colors, right? So a lot of times this area, now I don't have a red color, so in this case you can trick the eye. Say this was at an art gallery, you kind of lead the eye to imagine that this is red, and that of course this is close enough to black. And then a ladybug's going to have a straight tail that's very skinny, pointing up, and scientists aren't sure exactly what it's used for, but they have a suspicion that it's used for mating. They kind of wag it back and forth. All right, what else do we expect to find on our beautiful flower? What about a nice lizard? Well, lizards are going to have really, really, really long tails. They use it for bait to get actually animals that are larger than it to try to bite it. And the lizard, once the animal is locked on, it has locks on its tail, and it'll release the locks, which releases the tail so that the animal biting it is distracted and gobbling up. And the lizard is then able to turn around and eat the creature that is feasting on its tail, and then the lizard eats its tail and actually reuses its tail, so it can reattach its tail once it passes through its tummy, and then it does the same process over and over and over again. And a lizard is basically like a tiny alligator, so it's going to have a long skinny snout, and it's going to have little ball shapes at the end of its feet, and that's to help it stick to flowers and flower pots, fences. And they also have kind of like a pattern going back this way. Now, of course, they do have front legs. Now, the trick to getting a lizard photorealistic is getting these feet to be ball-shaped on the end. Now, maybe this lizard is sticking his hand out to gauge maybe the wind or the weather, because lizards are always very attuned and conscious, as many animals and insects are, of their environment. All right, now what I'd like to do here is I'm gonna just do some alternating colors, because a lot of times on flowers we have alternating colors. So we have a petal dart, very similar to the ladybug, the man and the woman ladybug. So this is gonna give some realism here. Oh, and I need to add the tail there. Now, occasionally, not always, but occasionally you can get like fruit flies, and that's like a smaller critter to get on a flower, and they'll be buzzing around. So a fruit fly is just going to have like really massive, they look like leaves because they have little veins in them. So that's the first thing you want to do, is just basically draw a little leaf, like a fern leaf, and then underneath that they have what's called compound eyes. So you're just going to do some hatching, and then their mouth is kind of obscured or overshadowed by their big compound eyes, which of course they have two compound eyes, and then they're going to have these really gross kind of like sticky feet with little hairs on them, and that's probably and then they have these front two hands that they rub together all the time. I think they're like OCD. I don't think they're OCD, but they must have some feature of OCD, because they just almost like they sanitize their hands. Anyway, and it's ironic because I think they carry diseases like Ebola, bubonic, all that stuff, malaria. So they're sitting there trying to keep their hands clean, and the whole time, spreading germs. So I don't really like the fly. And speaking of other bugs that I don't like, nonetheless, there are roaches. Roaches have these disgustingly long antennae. Very smart creatures, though. And they have legs. And some roaches actually have wings, and they can fly. I've heard this, I've never seen this, I've never been on a plane, but some can actually fly with the jet stream. They can get up that high and just kind of coast along. So that's why roaches kind of live everywhere on the earth, is because they can just kind of glide, spread their wings, and ride that jet stream to safety, or to a new place to call home. Now, right on the edge here, what I'd like to do is since we have a garden environment, is I'd like to draw, our gardener. I mean, I would assume, so just to add that human touch, that human feature, and since we're really zoomed in here, this is the hair, and humans have like billions and billions of hairs. So you want to add a loose hair here and there. We got the eyeball, and then since we're zoomed in, you're going to have the nose hole, which is going to be dark, of course, right? Because the sun rays are not going to be able to go in the nose hole. And then you're going to have the lips, and then everybody has a chin, of course, and maybe these little details can really help guide your viewer towards believing that they're looking at a photorealistic art piece. And so here's his face. He's just encroaching in the picture. And then maybe his hand is coming here to maybe pet the lizard. And so your thumb is going to be your smallest appendage. And you have these little lines on your fingers. as well as fingernails. So he is coming to pet the lizard. Okay, you have 5 seconds. Go ahead and take time to grab your outline marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so now we're going to just outline. We're not going to outline everything because in nature, light hits things differently, and so we're not going to see the same emphasis on everything. Correct? Correct. So, but since the focus is a flower, we certainly want to really draw attention to the petals, to the stick and ball, antennas. Plural for antenna is antennas with an S. That's one thing my students really have enjoy is you come here to learn how to take a course in master sketching, and you end up learning about biology and chemistry and nature. So I've been called a Renaissance man before, but I certainly wouldn't call myself that. But I do enjoy passing on what I know to my students. All right, so we're just going to outline our butterfly here. Whoops, did that one. Now butterflies, interestingly, have nothing to do with butter that we eat. It's just it's a coincidence. Fruit flies have nothing to do with fruit. That's just a coincidence. And caterpillars have nothing to do with cats. This caterpillar seems very focused on something. Maybe he is staring at something just off camera or just off screen that we can't see. He's getting ready to pounce. You might see like a small bird or something. Caterpillars can eat small mammals like small squirrels as long as they're able to overtake it and overpower it. It's not that they're scared of it. It's a cost benefit analysis for the caterpillar. But and of course, remember this is red. As we talked about, the ladybug is ferocious. It has a very volatile temper. Stay away. If you see them in the wild, they can trick you. Of course, with Christmas quickly approaching, Ladybug does have some pretty Christmas colors. So if you're able to maybe take a picture with your camera, or find a picture online that has color capabilities, and maybe put that on your Christmas tree. Or if you could find some live ladybugs, wear gloves, and put them in maybe a glass jar, and then put a string on that, put some Scotch tape to hold the string, and then you've got some live Christmas colored ornaments. So that's just an idea, a little craft idea for all of you now that we're getting towards that time. So we're finishing up here. This is the gardener's hand, and he's reaching out to investigate this lizard. But maybe he's a master flower grower, and he's certainly looks the part, doesn't he? I think anybody would be at a disadvantage if they were to think this was not a photo. In the devil's in the details, as you can see. All right, so it looks like we're about finished here. Just realized we need to add some coloring. So today I picked yellow. It's one of my favorite colors. So quickly, let's, even though butterfly wings are clear, they do oftentimes have a yellowish tint to them. And of course our sun is yellow. Caterpillar are not yellow. Sometimes leaves can have a yellowish color, especially in the spring. But you don't want to color where the hole is. And of course, our ladybugs are not yellow. The ball part of the stick and ball that attracts the bugs can be yellow. And of course, I know you've all seen the beautiful marigold flowers in the wild, and maybe that's what this is. This gross cockroach is. We could actually color that in the black ink. And then lizards actually can turn to the color of what they're sitting on, resting on, to kind of camouflage. And then we can just add a little bit of contour here. We're going to leave the person this color because we don't want too much of our ink. So there you have it, folks. Hopefully you've been able to follow along and recreate this with me. I've enjoyed doing it with you today. But as I always say, please don't give up if you were unable to recreate the sophistication and elegance seen here. I've been doing this for so long, it really comes easy to me. But if you have any questions or comments, please post them in the comments section on YouTube. As always, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.